So we're going to share 4 exercises. 2 of them come from a mobility perspective. So we'll be checking with our cervical mobility as well as thoracic and lumbar. And we'll be doing that through controlled articular rotations of your joints. This can be more of a daily hygiene kind of routine that you can build. And we work with irradiation, so squeezing muscle to bone at about 10 to 30% of your muscle voluntary contraction. So what you can voluntarily squeeze and contract your muscles. I'll explain more of that in just a little bit.
Very technical.
Yeah. I like to use big words sometimes. And then we do have 2 exercises that come from more of a stability perspective as well. So we'll share those after we do our mobility exercises. So if you'd like, I have a feeling everybody that I know that I see the name, I'm pretty sure has the ability to get up and down off the ground. So I think we'll skip the wall one. We'll show.
Yeah,
we'll
we can show the wall one
Okay.
as well, the options if you can't make it all the way down to the ground. I'll be in the background doing more of a wall version for that. So,
but for now, we are going to start in a standing position. Sometimes we can think of this can be also pre-hab and rehab. I'm gonna stop down too. It doesn't really matter actually if you're standing for this one, but the next one you will need to be standing. So for this one, what you're going to do is take your arms out to the side and you're going to squeeze your fists, squeeze and hug your muscles to your bone all the way up your arms. And the point of this exercise is to create stability through the rest of your body as you see what is available to you in terms of mobility at your cervical spine. So we're contracting at about 10 to 30%. So it's not gonna be your max effort. You're like this, that you can squeeze the most tight, just 10 to 30%. I'll demonstrate first and then we'll hop in to do it together. So as I'm squeezing my fist, hugging muscle to bone, I actively work through a little bit of resistance as I pull my chin towards my chest. So I'm just demoing this one. I'm going to pull my chin over to my shoulder and almost like I'm carving out a circle, pulling, working through a bit of resistance and continuously breathing as I go over to my other shoulder, down and around. So internally, I feel like it's really effortful. Of course, we can always do those neck circles that are kind of like floppy, but that's not the point. We want to think about how our cervical bones, cervical spine, how is it articulating with each vertebra. So we're going to start 5 circles in one direction and then 5 circles in the other direction, moving very slowly. So let's irradiate, squeeze muscle to bone, hold chin to chest, and continuously breathe. Slowly coming up, over, chin comes down and around. So it should definitely take about like 5 to 10 seconds to make each circle. Closer to 10 seconds. And don't forget that you're creating stability at every other part of your body. Nothing else is moving except for your cervical spine. So we have 2 more to complete in this one direction. We will break after these 2. Okay, so you can like let that go once you've completed it. Shake out the arms. It can be a lot to just squeeze your hands into fists. So something you could do is take a hold of a tennis ball or put a towel in your hands, a ball like this in your hands. So you go ahead and shake it out and then we're going to complete that on the other side. This is a great routine to put in your morning. So we're going to squeeze, pull chin to chest, Pull chin over to the shoulder. Up, over, being mindful of the back of the neck. That we're not just dumping into extension. There's still some integrity throughout your structure as you go back. So your cervical spine has a lot of rotation, has a lot of movement available to it. Then once you completed your 5 repetitions on that side, you can just shake it out. Pause for a second. I'm going to demonstrate this next one because it can get a little bit confusing about where to go. Don't worry though, if it is new to you, just doing the movement is good enough for our slides today. So I'm just going to come up and back up and look anymore. So for this one, I'm going to place my opposite hand to shoulder, and I'm working through the thoracic and the lumbar spine. So again, I'll just demo first. What I'm going to be doing is coming through flexion of thoracic spine, cervical spine to and lumbar. And then I add a rotation to my left side. So I rotate, come in through a lateral flexion. So as I come from that rotation, it's almost like I throw my right shoulder back. And then I reach up and I go into extension of the spine. So I'm looking upwards. My sternum is aiming upwards. I'm not just dumping though into my lumbar spine. And then I'll go to lateral flexion of the right side body. And then through to flexion. And I am radiating tension down my legs as I contract. To keep movement from happening there. So I'll narrate that whole sequence for us each time. So we're gonna go 5 times one way and then 5 times in the other way. So standing right hand to left shoulder, left hand to right shoulder. Bring your feet on the ground about hip width to armpit width apart. And now I like to squeeze my glutes here as well. Let's come into flexion, so a rounding of the spine. Take a breath here, and then look with your eyes to the left, and you just rotate to the left. Notice that your hip bones are still pointing forwards. Let's come into a lateral side bend. So yeah, pinching the rib cage to the hip. And as we come up, we're going to tip back into extension, gazing upwards. Squeezing right rib cage to hip, lateral flexion. Into rotation of the spine, and then through to flexion. So I'm going to be annoying and say that one more time all out loud. So we go through flexion. Let's go to the left side rotation, lateral flexion, extension, lateral flexion to the opposite side, rotation, and flexion. So 3 more times in that direction. We're rotating, side bending, extending, side bending, rotating to flexion. 2 more times. These movements are meant to be slow and meant to give you some insight to how your spine is articulating. If there are any sticking points, sometimes when our thoracic spine gets really tight, it'll send some movement, or the lower back will get a little more mobile. And sometimes that's not what we want. We want to have thoracic rotation available to us. Lumbar spine as a point of stability. So finishing off last one as we do 5 in one direction. If you already did 5, just do another rep. Okay, we'll come out. You can shake it out for a second, and then we'll explore that on the other side. So just remember that legs, pelvis, it kind of stays in the same thing. It's our upper body that's moving through space. So now let's bring the left hand to the right shoulder, right hand to the left shoulder. So you're switching what one was over top. And then let's go through flexion. And again, as you go through flexion, it's not about dumping all the way down. Just a slight rounding of the spine. Let's rotate to the right side. Side bend. Up, over, side bend, and rotate. And let your eyes trail as you do this movement. Try not to let it get stuck on any one point in the room, because then your cervical spine might stop moving. We'll do one more circle around. Cool. And then shake that out. So a really simple way to check in with your joints and how they're articulating. Now we want to stabilize our structure, working with the intrinsic core and the musculature that helps to keep our spine in a neutral position. So I'm going to show you the first exercise. I'll demo. Lauren is going to do a wall version if getting down on the ground is not working for your body today. So this first one is actually they're both by Stuart McGill, who's a leading expert on lower back pain and disorders. So he's a really great resource if you want to dive a little bit deeper into that. You can always reach out and I'll send you his name after. But I'm going to come down onto the ground, keeping my chin in line with my chest, in line with my pubic bone, so I'm not bearing my neck towards the ceiling. If you need any support, you can place a pillow or a blanket underneath of your head to help make it neutral if that's the case. We're going to bring the arms by your sides and you'll slide the right heel out. So again, I'll just demo though for this. So I'm pulling my right toes to my shin. And now with my left arm, I might start with it in an overhead position, just depends what's available to you, or it might be resting on the ground. I'm going to think about magnetizing my ribs towards my hips. And from here, keeping everything neutral and engaged, I'm going to lift my right leg up and bring my right knee in line with my left. And I'll have my left wrist over top of my elbow and then lower back down, nice, slow, and controlled. Now, if it's hard for you to tell what your body is actually doing in this space, what your rib is doing, take a hand, your right hand, place it over your abdominal region, and then that will give you some feedback on whether your rib cage is starting to flare, whether you're losing your spinal position. So let's do 5 to 8 repetitions of that, nice and slow all together. If you've already started, you can get some extra reps in if it feels okay. So engaging, magnetizing rib cage to hip, nice and slow. Right knee comes up towards the left. Left arm comes over the left shoulder. Left wrist over the shoulder. And lower back down. We're not holding the breath here. do one more on this side. And then you can relax and just see what non-effort relaxation feels like in the body. And we're going to explore 5 to 8 repetitions on the other side. So just see what's available in terms of overhead position for the right arm without compromising your spinal position. So even if that's up here today, just go with it. Left leg is extended and your toes are active, pulling towards the shin. You can place the left hand on your belly and we lift. Knee to knee, wrist over shoulder. Continuous flowing of breath. So is it hard for you to keep your cervical spine in position? Or is it happening maybe mid-back? Is it hard for the pelvis to stay in a neutral position? Start to pay attention to these things. And if they're popping up here, they might be popping up more often than you know in your day-to-day life as you go through your day and whatever that is. We're gonna do one more. One more. Cool, and then we're going to rest from here. Just gonna get what time it is, just in case we have time to do 10 minutes. Okay, let's go to the next one that I want to show you. So for that exercise right there, you could do 3 sets of that to start, and maybe you judge that off of how you felt after today's class. We're going to flip it over into a tabletop position, so keep that neutral spine alignment in your back pocket. It's the same positioning of our spine, but now we have a little bit more load because we are flipped over in our tabletop position. So we're going to have the index fingers pointing forwards. I would be imagining if I had a dowel on my back, my cervical spine is not dropping. So that's what that would look like. This is happening, or I'm not losing my lower back position. So that can look like this, a little more like Beyonce, I guess. We're going to tuck the tailbone under. So actively pushing the ground away. I will demo here again for you. I'm going to slide my right foot back, push out through the heel. And then once I've got that position, I'm going to slide my left hand out. So this will be the first variation. And then with control, I just slide my right knee back in, left hand in. Now, if you have a block nearby or a book, you can put that on my lower back. You could put this on your lower back, right on your sacrum, and it will give you feedback. It'll start to move around or wobble. So if I'm like moving my back and then going like, it's gonna fall off. Or you'll just feel a little bit of cueing from that. So I like to place one of these on my back as I'm doing it to make sure that I'm in position. So let's go ahead and try 5. We'll extend the right leg back and then slide the left arm out. You can stay here or lift the left arm up, right leg up. And it's not a huge movement. Try to keep the right leg straight. Tap foot to hand on the ground, slide it back in. Tabletop position, take a breath. And then again, 4 more times, right leg goes back, left arm goes out, staying here. Or kick up and reach. Tap down at the same time and slide back in. Let's go for 3, keep breathing. Pausing at the top. Coming back down with control. And again for 2, pause, kick up, pause, down, And last time. And now if you'd like, you can pause in the bottom position or we can pause in the top for 5, 3, 2, and release with control. And we'll take a moment to pause from there. Notice what's lighting up in your body, what's loudest, and what's speaking to you. Okay, we'll take a few breaths here, shake it out. I think my kneecap on the tile floor is speaking to me right now. And then we're gonna go to the other side. So if you have that foot, set it up on your sacrum again. 4 points of contact with the ground, toes are tucked. And now we're going to slide the left leg back, slide the right arm out, and float off the ground. Tap down, slide it, reset, and let's go again. Three more. And this is something that we're not looking at acquiring a ton of reps. We are looking at the quality of movement and how we can complete this. Let's go for 2. Down. And this last one, we're going to hold for 5 seconds, whether that's your hand and foot to the ground, or we float them up. Then we'll go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down, slide it in, and then we can reset. So this is something, again, you can do 3 to 5 sets of that. 2 mobility exercises and then 2 stability exercises is kind of what I like to start with. If you do suffer from back pain, it's all about bringing that conscious awareness to how you're actually doing things when you go in your day-to-day life. And you can bring that into any movement class that you do, whether it is like going to a boot camp or CrossFit or yoga class. Be mindful of what your lumbar spine, your thoracic spine, and your cervical spine are doing in those classes. Take that info and put it into your day-to-day life. Would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, low back pain is obviously very different for everybody, but working through both mobility and stability is very important. A lot of people tend towards two-way on one side and get super mobile and then don't work on the stability piece, or some people work on too much like stability and strength and don't work on the mobility piece. So that nice balance is very key and can go and help both ways in terms of low back pain. So